All right, let's get right into it. If you're studying commerce or economics, you know this topic is a big one. Understanding the three major economic systems, well, it's absolutely crucial for your exams. So in the next few minutes, we're going to break it all down, step by step, so you can walk into that exam feeling totally prepared. So let's start with a really simple but huge question. Why can't we have everything we want? A new phone, unlimited data, and a vacation every month? This question right here is the real starting point for all of economics. And the answer? It all comes down to one single, powerful idea. Okay, here's our roadmap. We'll kick things off with that core economic problem. Then we'll look at the three big solutions: capitalism, socialism, and the mixed economy. And we'll wrap it all up with the key takeaways you'll need for your exam. Simple as that. First up, let's talk about the one concept that the entire field of economics is built on. I mean it. If you get this right, everything else just clicks into place. Okay, this definition, you absolutely have to know it for your exam. Scarcity. It's this fundamental mismatch between what we all want, which is basically unlimited, and the resources we have, which are finite. Think about it on a personal level. Your pocket money is a limited resource, right? It forces you to choose, do I get the movie ticket or do I buy that new book? A country faces the exact same problem, just on a massive scale. It can't build infinite roads and infinite hospitals at the same time. It has to choose. That's scarcity. So because of this scarcity problem, every single society has to answer these four huge questions. First, what to produce? Should India put more money into its awesome space program, or should it focus on rural healthcare? Second, how to produce it? Should a factory use more high-tech robots, or should it hire more people? Third, for whom to produce? Who gets the stuff we make? Who gets those new apartments being built? The people who can pay the most, or the people who need them the most? And finally, how do we plan for the future? How do we make sure we're growing? So how do we actually go about answering those big four questions? Well, the first major approach we're going to look at is capitalism. This system puts all its faith in what we call the free market. Now, for your exam, there are two key words you have got to remember here: private ownership and profit motive. That's the heart of capitalism. Think about a company like, say, Zomato. It's owned by private shareholders, right? Not the government. And what's its main goal? To make a profit by connecting you with restaurants. That, right there, is capitalism in a nutshell. Let's just stick with that Zomato example for a second. The founders had the freedom of enterprise to even start the company. Why? Because they have a right to private property. The profit motive is what drives them to offer you better deals than, say, Swiggy, and that's competition. But ultimately, who's in charge? You are, the consumer. You have sovereignty, because if you don't like the service, you'll just switch to the other app. Now, in a pure capitalist system, the government's role in all of this is supposed to be minimal. And this brings us to the two sides of the coin. That intense competition we just talked about, it pushes companies to be super efficient and to come up with new ideas. Those are the merits. But, and this is a big but, that relentless focus on profit can have some serious downsides, some major demerits. It can lead to huge gaps between the rich and poor, and it runs the risk of one company getting so powerful it becomes a monopoly, which basically kills consumer choice. Okay, let's completely switch gears now. We're going to look at a totally different way of solving those four central problems: the socialist, or as it's sometimes called, the command economy. For your exam, just think of socialism as the mirror opposite of capitalism. It's that simple. Instead of private owners, the community, through the government, owns things like factories and farms. A great example is the Indian Railways. It's owned by the government, and its main goal isn't to make the most profit possible. Its goal, which is set by a central plan, is to provide affordable transportation for everyone in the country. So all of these features really flow from that main idea. You've got collective ownership, so no private factories. You have central economic planning, which means a government agency decides how many cars to build, not what consumers are demanding. The goal is a more equal income distribution, but the trade-off is often an absence of consumer choice. You might get the car the state decides to produce, which isn't necessarily the one you actually want. Now, here's a super important exam tip. Do not get the pros and cons of these systems mixed up. It's a common mistake. Socialism's big merit, its big advantage, is that it focuses on social justice and equality. But the flip side, the demerit, is that when you remove that profit motive and individual choice, you can end up with inefficiency, a lot of bureaucracy, and not much of a reason for anyone to innovate.
So if you've got capitalism on one extreme and socialism on the other, what do most countries in the real world actually do? Well, let's take a look at the middle ground, the mixed economy.
Honestly, this is the system you're probably most familiar with because pretty much every country, including India, is a mixed economy. The whole idea is to try and get the best of both worlds. You want the efficiency and innovation that comes from the private market, but you also want the social safety net and welfare goals that the government provides. And this balance is what really defines it. In the private sector, you've got companies like Reliance or Tata, driven by profit. Then in the public sector, you have organizations like ISRO, our space agency, which is focused on national goals, not on last quarter's earnings. And sometimes they meet in the middle, in the combined sector. Think of a public-private partnership to build a new airport or a highway. That's the mixed economy in action.
All right, everyone, pencils down for a second, eyes over here. This is it. This is the most important part for your revision. We are going to boil everything we've talked about down into one simple, powerful slide that you can take with you.
This table right here is your ultimate exam study guide. Seriously, just look at a row like guiding force, what drives capitalism, the profit motive, what drives socialism, social welfare, and in a mixed economy, well, it's a mix of both. Use this to compare each system side by side. If you can remember this framework, you are going to be in great shape for the exam. So to wrap everything up, here's one last thought to take with you, something to think about even after the exam is over. We've seen that no system is perfect. They all have their strengths and they all have their flaws, which leads to the really big question. What comes next? What kind of mix of freedom, equality, and efficiency do you think would create the best possible economy for the future? That's something we're thinking about. Okay, good luck with your studies.